That works. Yes. And that means that this should also work. It is giving me that it's streaming, but my OBS still tells me to go live, which is interesting. I am both live and not live at the same time. I am online. Nice. Nice, then we can get started. I'll just wait for a couple of minutes for the tracks to come in and the viewers to come in. We already do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tracks to listen to here for today. It is also October 13th, which is exactly a year after I released my ultimate guide to kick and bass. This massive video
is going to come
over here. The 3-hour, 18-minute video. So that's really cool that it's been exactly a year, and it's kind of crazy how much I've learned since then. I think in not this year, but the next year, I'm going to go on the anniversary and probably do something like another version of that kind of tutorial, maybe a little bit later. Depends. It doesn't yet feel like a big enough step for me, like there was between the first one and the second one. Either way, Schrodinger's cat. I don't know what that's referring to. Oh, the go live thing. Yeah, okay, yeah. True, yes. Yes. That is a Schrodinger's live stream. I'm also testing low latency mode today. Since I'm on fiber, I might as well try the ultimate or the ultra low latency mode here, which is going to be nice. Let's see. After your last video about the intro, I finally finished my intro, and for the first time I love it. Thank you very much again. You're welcome. I'm glad that it's so helpful. If you want, you can send it during the feedback stream. I can have a listen at it. If you haven't already submitted. Either way, we're going to start off with Smilk here, or Misk, with No Name 141. I don't know if they're in the chat here or not. Let me grab some snacks, please. Sounded like the rhythm was off sync there for a second. Ah, it's being glitched up, that main melody, I guess. I like where this is going. I think the vocal can be a little bit clearer in the mix. Especially now that there's big drums and other choirs and shimmering stuff in the top frequencies as well. I can really see this as like a set intro or something like that.
Memories we hold
A little bit of a rough transition, I would say, into the kick and bass. You could be a little bit more creative with the way that it flows into there. I like the tonality of your kick and bass. You can see that it's clean enough, I would say. Like the transient isn't getting massively distorted or whatever. I do feel like the bass line could be a little bit louder. And mainly the click of it, like the higher frequencies of it. It's okay with the sub, but the mid-range and the higher frequencies definitely can use a little boost here. Maybe the kick can be louder also. Personally, I think the kick is okay. Kick is coming through the mix nicely. A little bit of high frequency spice would also be nice. A little bit of extra EQing on the drums to just get a nice bit of boost out there. The plugin that I would recommend for that is something called Lufticus here. It's a free plugin. You can set it to 40k and then boost it up like this until you find a nice bite, basically. Obviously you don't hear it right now. The effect isn't being applied to the signal that you're hearing. A little bit more power out of the synth would be nice here, I think. Still feels a little bit weak at the end of the build-up. Here you can hear influence on the transients by the bass line here. I do really like the bass idea here. If you clean it up nicely, it's a very fun groove. Track became totally different. I also like the combination, I like this. I like the creative differences that you have in the one-shots. One thing where you can make them a little bit more interesting is if you play a little bit more with the delay and reverb that you're putting on each of them. It feels like they're all very similar in the delay and reverb that they use. And having different timings, different tonalities for the reverb, different tonalities for the delay where you set the filters and that kind of stuff. Maybe some delays a little bit saturated, maybe some of them having like frequency shifters on them. Some phasers, some choruses, those kind of extra details can make each individual one-shot stand out a lot more.
Through sunshine and rain.
Herr Poyatore, yes. How are you guys all doing? Mind B, Loris, Bo, welcome. Felipe, welcome. I didn't even say hi to the first people. Errol de Ville. Encore Ogu, welcome as well. Marco.
Memories we hold
You're right, this track is very quiet. It's an interesting approach because... okay, here you go back to the rolling kick and bass just full on. I was about to say, like, this track started with a rolling kick and bass, so if you want to play it in a set and not have it be the first track, and you want to mix it in a rolling kick and bass section, then you should have the rolling bass also at the end, right? I don't know if I'm too much a fan of those vocals that you're using there. I like the occasional one, like you can have one of those one shots in there, like that.
Check it out.
My voice is still very loud compared to the track. It should now be... Okay. It is still loud even after I turned up the music. Right, because now I have the music balanced. Let's say I put it up even 1 dB more, right? Is it now still overpowering the music? Is it like way too loud for the music? Because I had it balanced and it didn't change anything, I think. Because I had it back. That does sound very loud. Yes. It sounds almost like my gain minus 3.9. It's just the mic is too loud in general. Like if I talk into the direction of the mic, I think I'm even clipping. Talk into the direction of the mic, I think I'm... Yes. So I'm just going to lower the input gain here then. I removed another 3 dB of input gain on the microphone. Are you sure you used a good mic? I don't recognize the sound of it. Yeah, it's still the normal microphone. I didn't change anything even from like the last feedback stream. The only thing that I changed was the routing in the DAW, which has no effect on the sound of the stream whatsoever. So that shouldn't be an issue. I mean, I've turned the microphone down because I now hear that it was like actually clipping there, which you obviously don't want. Maybe track was a little bit too loud on dB. As in the music? No, the music was too quiet. I had to boost it by 10. I originally had it boosted by like 9 dB, like 8.9 over here. And that is just the music. That has nothing to do with... Windows sometimes changes settings for you. OBS is known to do this from time to time as well. Yeah, one reason why I should talk about this. Do you guys remember my secondary channel? I say do you remember because it has pretty much died completely. And I've let it die. Up until September, up until somewhere in mid-September, I was posting there the Conversations with Projector series, which was the cut parts of the stream. I did this for a while. This really never really caught on. There was like a few videos that did decently, like the Bitwig ones, for example, over here. They do okay-ish, but it was never really worth the effort. But what I wanted to talk about is one of the reasons why I discontinued this series is because in the editing, I had to do a lot more than I thought I would. And one of the reasons for that is because I noticed that the volume of my microphone was sometimes clipping and sometimes it wasn't. So I had to do like actual audio restoration. Maybe the track was too quiet. Yeah, but I boosted it. I boosted it myself. I manually check here in the waveform how loud it is. Of course, this isn't an exact LUFS readout, so it's never exactly balanced with the other tracks. But that's not needed. Even if it's in the ballpark, it should be okay. But I've now just turned the volume down, and it should be good. We're just going to move on to the next one, unless there are Patreons, which there aren't. That's a lot of extra work. Yeah, it's just not worth the effort. If I could just chop up the stream and say like, okay, this part needs to be edited, this part needs to be edited, that part needs to be edited, and I want it in this order. I want those chapters to be in there. I want those topics to be in there. I want it to, have this title on it, have these cards on it when somebody says something in chat or something like that. If I can get all of that and give that to an editor and then have him do the actual video, then it would, it wouldn't cost any of my actual time, or at least not a lot. And then just have somebody else take care of it. But as long as it doesn't make any money, it's just not worth it. And even if it does, it needs to grow very far beyond what even my main channel is doing in order for that to pay for itself. So it's just not worth it for the series, and I can just much better spend that time on my actual content. So that's the main reason why I stopped doing it, because it's just not worth it. Next up we have Omen with Hive Mind, with a very nice cover here. Looks very interesting and looks very loud as well, so I've turned my own thing back down again. Nice strong start. It is building up a little bit of mud in those areas. I do like that your kick and bass is louder in the drop and has an actual impact there. You are bleeding into your kick drum. You can see that the waveform continues in here, so you would need to resample your bass line. I feel like the balance of the kick and bass is good, the balance of the drums is good, but the atmospheric stuff that you're doing in between and the sound design that you're doing in between is, one, very dynamic, and two, fairly loud. It sometimes even overpowers the kick and bass. Like here in those areas where you have like a special extra element, like a one shot. Voice noticeably louder. It did go up again. I don't... Loudness wise, this track should be louder than the last track that we played, so it should be closer together. Your main synths seem to be a little bit better balanced than those one-shots that sometimes really just pierce through. I would still argue that you could turn them down, maybe 1 or 2 dB, even like the main sequences that you're using here. A little bit of a bigger consideration is you seem to be hard panning the synth, the main synth, left and right. While a little bit of panning can be nice, I feel like that hard panning it puts it too far out of the center. So maybe do like 50-50, something like that. Was getting scared that it would get too resonant there, but we're kind of just avoiding a nasty resonance. Yeah, I think you should be able to just cut out the last part of your bass and then get a nice clean kick and bass out of it. It sounds a little bit like it has a double click, like there's another click over here happening. Maybe a little bit more in the lower mid-range. I cannot see anything on the analyzer, but it's very easy that it's covered up. Not really a fan of the drums being panned either. And while we're at the drums, you can remove those lower fundamentals in your snare to maintain the punch of the kick on every beat. Because now it's like, if I pause it, you can see it's kind of cutting into the mid-range of your kick drum. It's like cancelling there. So you don't need that part of the snare, so you can get rid of that completely. On the snare side then. Auto pen maxing, but yeah, very good track. Yeah, I agree. The ideas are very good. The production quality is definitely there as well. Sound design is really nice. Mix is overall decent. You're going a little bit hard on the panning. Definitely on the drums, don't pan them around. No snare to the right, no open head to the left. Those are the part, that is the main groove of your track. So you want that's central to the track. It says it in the name, right? And the same is kind of true with your main FM elements and your main sequences. Even there, a little bit of panning can be nice, but maybe 15-20% left, 20% right, something like that. Now we can see where... Oh yeah, there's a little bit of grit on it. There's some saturation on it. That's nice, that's not too bad. Overall, very nice track. Hello Tom Szul, how are you doing? Sounded very good, I liked it a lot. Moving on, we have Loris Dorman. Let me just quickly check, there aren't, no new submissions. But we have Loris Dorman here. Hello Projector, your feedback means a lot to me. I like your honest and straight analysis very much. Then that's what I'll try to give you. Best wishes by Loris Dorman with the track Out of Love. I'm uploading a track for you. Thank you. I like it, very groovy. I do feel the drums can be a little bit better, I would say. I think the snare here can be a little bit better. But also the main top drums that you're using can be a little bit more varied. Because it's always the same hat, it's always the same offbeat open hat, for example. Nice to have a main open hat, but it's nice to have some layers on top of it that vary it a little bit. Here a little bit of a high pass on that bass part, for example, could be nice. Because now the bass just continues to play up until the kick comes back in. And by leaving a little bit of space in the low frequencies there, by not playing the bass for that last bar, and by high passing it into the build-up, you get a nicer flow where it actually comes back in. Cool stuff. I like it. Sounds very good. I think a few small details that I pointed out, but other than that, the main idea for the track is very nice. Yeah, that's not a lot to say when you get a track like that. It's just, you've taken the right amount of elements, you've taken a very lively composition, and then the mix is just very well done. So, not much more to go into detail on. Other than those small few details that you can consider with the drums, just adding a little bit more life to them by adding some slight layers, some slight variation to them. And the other thing was, cutting the bass out of your transitions and parts of your build-up, for example, so that when the kick hits again, the bass kind of actually comes back and gives another sense of impact as opposed to it already being present. So a little bit of emptiness is actually a nice indication once the bass comes back, so that it people get the bass in their body again, and they can actually start moving to the bass again at that exact point where you want them to start dancing. Yeah, very nice. Next up we have Sounder, also known as Sander Wiesbeek here in the chat. So this is Sounder with who I'm getting WhatsApps. That is not great. Let me see if I can turn off the notifications. Notifications. Nice, okay. So this is Tribalicious. Discord has this nice streamer mode built into it. When you have OBS open, it doesn't show any notifications for anything coming up over here. That is really nice. WhatsApp doesn't do that. WhatsApp just hears some messages that you're not interested in. Anyway, Tribalicious by Sounder. Let's have a listen. I think the idea here is one of those mouth harps, lip harps, whatever they're called. Kick and bass sounds very boomy, very sub-heavy. Especially this harmonic over here, this individual frequency that cuts through. It's also bleeding into it. It could be nice to have the bass a little bit more dynamic and roll up in volume here and then fade out right before, like over here-ish. Overall, I like the groove that you're establishing here. It feels a little bit empty because there isn't any like one-shots in the track except that one clap there. Nice different melody here. But a few extra one-shots would be really nice. A track that you can look up as a reference track maybe. Let me just open up my playlist, that takes a little while. I won't play it now, but just to give you an idea. Should be around here somewhere. Yeah, Lonely Forest here. Lonely Forest Cop Geister remix. I feel a little bit the vibe that you're trying to go for. It does sound like this is a galloping bass line, so it's 2 bass notes on 16 notes as opposed to an actual offbeat. But tonally it sounds very similar. We do again have this hat panning business, which I'm not really too big of a fan of. Feels like everything is panning around a little bit at least. For your top drums, your main groove drums, I wouldn't do that. It's okay for the synths, as long as you don't like hard pan them just a little bit. And of course for stuff like background elements and atmospheres and that kind of stuff, it's a lot easier to get away with it. Quite a loud sound there. What I would do with a sound like that, by the way, is I would put it one beat before the kick as opposed to on the kick itself, so that you can still get that impact of the kick drum itself. And then it plays on its own. You have the zap, and then the kick drum comes in right after that. But this kick and bass definitely needs some cleaning as well. I wonder what's going on actually over here, if that's the actual transient, and that then meaning that this is all bleeding into that for the second bass note. A cool melody, I like the melody, it's very loud now. Yeah, now that the track is so empty in this part here, you can definitely notice how sub-heavy this track is. Even in the part where it's fuller, I would say it's a problem, but you get adjusted to that. But now that there's nothing to balance again, it really starts to boom at you. Inception, welcome, welcome. Overall, I would say the squelch is also fairly sharp for the track that you seem to go for. You can see that the sharpness in the highest frequencies when that squelch played, versus now, for example, this drum loop over here. This sounds very soft and very mid-rangey, which you can also see here, of course. This sound has a little bit of the same problem. A little bit of chorus usually helps there, and then a little bit of low pass and a little bit of extra reverb. Kind of smoothing out the sound in several different ways, frequency-wise, and then time-wise is obviously the chorus and the reverb are both delay effects. So you can think of it as like smoothing out the waveform time-wise, whereas obviously like a low-pass filter smooths it out frequency-wise. Okay. Thanks for your feedback, very helpful. You're welcome. Glad that you like it. And next up we have, let's see, no patrons. So next up we have Errol the Ville with Core Conjurer, which we've heard a few times before. He's now joking about it, that it should be the last time. And hopefully they're correct. Or I don't know, maybe not. I would like them to submit more stuff. But maybe for this track. Not was, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. Honestly, I would turn off the sequences and just have the sequences kind of come in over here. Now that they're opening up here, I think that would be nicer than having them right from the start of the drop. You can get those animal sounds to really come through a little bit more that way. Kick and bass sounds really nice now. I think the saturation, you're doing that deliberately, but it doesn't sound like bad in any way, and it's just enough to give it a little bit of extra power, a little bit of extra punch in that mid-range, but not to crush your sub, which is where you often run into because it's louder and therefore tends to be harder to distort. I like that subtle, almost industrial atmosphere that you had there every bar. I do feel like oftentimes the transient of your kick changes tonality slightly, like at very high frequencies. What could be the case is that with some of these synths being fairly loud and the way that it's mastered is that you can do some very, very, very short sidechaining on just the kick drum. So imagine like a sidechain like this, right? A very short event. You'd have it go down right before the kick and have it go back up right after that transient hits. That can help stabilize the transient itself. You can do that on some like a sequences group or whatever. You can do it on your drums as well if you feel like your drums are messing with the kick transient too much. There's a very short soft tambourine on the kick. I did hear that, yes. But that was not what I was referring to. I'm mainly listening to the actual click of the kick itself, not the layer on top of it, so to speak. You can imagine it as a little bit lower of a frequency range that I'm listening for, like 4,000, 5,000 hertz, as opposed to the 10k that the tambourine is kind of in, right? At the highest frequencies. I do like this. I think that one mono synth that you have in here can be a little bit more stereo. That could be a little bit more impactful. That way the kick and bass slow groove really just comes through in the middle. I like that this actually goes louder when the drop hits. That's very well done, because then you maintain that impact. Here again, with a synth like that, you can make it a little bit more stereo to keep it a little bit more interesting. Overall, it sounds very nice. It feels like the third drop definitely needs to be a little bit longer. Overall, I can see that the track is only 5.5 minutes long, so you definitely have space for it to get it to like, I don't know, 7 minutes maybe. But overall, I like what I heard so far. Sounds very nice. I like that the idea that this means that you literally just do one section at a time, and this is what your track is going to finish sounding like when you get to the end of the actual production. I couldn't imagine doing it like that. I usually get the structure going immediately when I start producing, and only then slowly start adding like all of the elements that it needs to be until the track suddenly becomes done as a whole, so to say. Next up we have, I again need to check if there's any patrons, which there aren't. So next up we have Cosmic Void here by InfraSchall. This is the 5th mastered demo, as you can see. I took everything you said last time on board and retooled a lot of the track. I threw out the intro, shortened the breakdown, and a lot of other changes. This is still rough mix, and I'm dealing with a bit of a head cold, so my hearing is a bit wonky, so apologize in advance if it's a bit pokey. Okay. Let's see. That was too short, I was just getting into it what the track. Yeah, I do agree that it can definitely be longer. Quite a lot going on here in the mid-range.
Just afraid you offer the apology for all the monsters of our time.
And here you have the exact space that you need for your vocals to be mixed nicely. And they don't occupy the space. You can, whatever you're doing to the vocal, that filter can definitely be a little bit higher. Kick and bass sounds very strong. I like the punchiness of it. It does still need cleaning, seemingly. It seems like the transient is like bent up over here. This is definitely something to avoid. But seeing as it's okay over here, you can fix that without a vocal. You can just sidechain normally at a vocal, have the sidechain engaged like right before the kick, and then just cut out this part over here. That's sometimes something that I need to do as well in my mixes. As long as the bleeding between notes isn't too bad, then you can get away with that. It sounds really cool up until there's like a... I think it's these plugs that sit in there. It feels like there's something interfering with the bass line in the lowest harmonics here every once in a while. Like a goem. Do you hear it? It's like right there. I think it may be that thing that I'm seeing there. Yeah. You can see its harmonics there. I think. The sound design overall is very, very well done. Even the mix, I would say, isn't... Like you're saying... Pokey. I don't know exactly what that means. I would imagine that if you have a headache or a head cold, that just like me, you are a little bit more annoyed by this frequency range. I can definitely see that happening, but it's not to the point where I would say that you're cutting out too much here. right there, when you fade out like that, musically speaking, in my opinion, it would be nicer to not have a big impact there, so that you're just fading out to almost nothing. Just keep that bass in there, that re-sync idea, and then it kind of moves from below of it again, as opposed to having that be properly announced. I think maybe that is a nicer effect. Overall, I get why you would want it in the form of the structure of the track, but this is very stereo. This isn't going to translate very well to... I guess it could be fine.
The universe whispers its secrets to those who dare to listen, echoing through the cosmic void.
There's a very big impact there. Here the kick and bass already sounds a lot more stable, a lot nicer. My Pokemon means sharp/piercing. Honestly, no. To my ears it doesn't sound like that, and I think the effect is that this range you're a little bit more sensitive when you have like a headache or when you're sick. Because that's generally the range that we're already sensitive to. So overall, I would say maybe even in moments like this, it's a little bit not enough. You're focusing a little bit too much on this area over here, which connects a little bit too much with the drums. Like the synth is almost occupying the same space of the drums now, where it could definitely have a little bit more energy over here and then a little bit less over there. I do feel like, yeah, this is overly bright now. With this kind of brightness, you have to be really careful that you don't do it for too long, because you can imagine that on a big sound system, those very high frequencies can indeed be annoying for some people. That's great. I was just trying to preempt the possibilities. I can't hear high frequencies normally at the moment. Yeah. I can definitely hear that you are a little bit more sensitive right now to this frequency range, to around 2K, I would say, which is like higher mid-range, I would call it. And you're definitely pushing things also more into the treble than you would normally would, right? So boost a little bit at 2K with most of your synths, and then cut a little bit of like 8K, something like that, and then you should be okay. You should have heard it before I put the tilty cue at the end. Nice. Okay. Yeah, it does. It's not like, I would say there were moments where it was over the edge, right? Where it was just really like, mainly the length has to do. You can get to that kind of brightness, but for a very short period of time. Like say like the last half bar of your build-up, for example, that tends to be really, really bright because there all of the elements are at the rising point here, at their highest point, so you get a lot of high frequencies. But that is like usually a very short moment, and here it felt like it went on and on and on for, I would say, almost like 8 bars, that it was at that high point, mix-wise, and that is just too much, because then with the length, it's going to start hurting people's ears. It's going to, you know, it's going to be overly harsh, I would say. I was pushing the envelope a bit. Yes, exactly. Next up, we have Mind B, who has already hyped me up for this track. So I'm very hyped. But anyway, here is my new work in progress track. What do you think of the intro, the kick and bass, and overall the track so far? I will see. This is Zen Dimension by Mind B. little bit of a loud start. Like that vocal. I would personally look to turn down the kick and bass in this area so that it comes in a little bit more below it. Right now this area feels so like it's fairly loud for the drop that you're going to come into. I do really like that. That sounds really good. Kick and bass also sounds really nice. I could see the first click being a little bit louder. It feels a little bit too gallopy maybe. On that, not much that I would say up until this point, like, or changes. I like these kind of atmospheres. One of the things that you can do while they're fading in, making them more and more wider over time, so that you get like it's growing in volume, and while it's doing that, it's also growing bigger in like the space that it occupies, you know, in terms of the width. That's why I like Echo Boy Jr. because it has that wide delay option, and therefore you get a more mono dry signal, and that becomes a more stereo delay that for one sits back a little bit more in the mix, but it also has this opening up effect over time. I like this idea a lot. I only think that little pitch vibrato that you're doing at the end of the bar should be more aligned with the rhythm. It feels like it's like off sync by 32 note, maybe. Here like an extra grid synth layer can be added. Like a big FM step on like an offbeat or something like that. Sounds very good. I like that a lot. I like where that is going. I want to see where you take it from here. Full processor. How are you doing? Welcome. Next up we have currently 3 more tracks. And I've been doing this for an hour. Today is not going to be a super long stream. I think I'm going to get like 2.5 hours in. I'm not going to go 4.5 like I did last stream. So it's definitely going to be shorter. The reason for that is I was originally going on a date yesterday, but unfortunately she had to work. So I spent the whole of yesterday from early in the morning to basically midnight. I spent working on my own album stuff. And I have 2 release candidates over here. So that is tracks that are basically finished in terms of production. They only need to go exporting for mixing, and then the mixing and mastering, and then they're done. So these are finished production-wise. So in total, I would say like give 5 more hours per track in terms of time that I need to work on them in the mixing and the mastering stage, and then it's all done. Then I have 1 more that I'm getting close with the final idea, and then I have 3 more that are like final review, which is the step before they become the release candidate that then goes into mixing. And the final review is I do a little bit of like checks to it, but the main thing is that I just listen to it a couple of times and WhatsApp myself all of the ideas that I have for the track while I'm not in the DAW, because then you can objectively listen to just what you want to change without immediately, forcing yourself to dive into it. And that means that while I was doing that, I didn't, or I continued doing that this morning. That is why you can see that there's 3 more exports from today. But that means that I'm a little bit behind with the video. So after the stream, I do need to edit. Therefore, the stream itself is going to be a little bit shorter. That is where I wanted to go with that. In the meantime, I would like to play one of these tracks over here. And I'm quickly thinking which one I'll do. I'll do this one over here. Because this is the more interesting one between these two. And the other one is one of the ones that I'm keeping secret for now. Like, as in hasn't appeared in content and that kind of stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break. And once we're back, we're going to continue listening to your guys' music. Of course, you can still submit. As I said, I'm planning another half hour-ish. Or not half hour, another hour-ish of listening to your guys' music plus the break. So say like 2.5 hours stream in total. And we've been going for an hour now. So I'm just going to leave this here. And then once the track is finished playing, we'll continue listening to your guys' music.
They can provide for everyone a way of life.
Cool. Glad you guys like that. Glad to see all of the nice messages in the chat. We'll just pop these analyzers back on and then continue with Inception. I needed to wait a little bit for all of the foam from my coke to go away to finish pouring it. Great job, Chef Projector. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. I hope towards November I can start the mixing process for all of these tracks, for the 10 tracks that are part of the album. There's a few that need a little bit more work before they get to that stage. This one being one of them, that the one that doesn't have anything behind it. I worked on it for quite a long time and just not getting it exactly right. But yeah, that's going to be interesting, and hopefully then in November I'm going to be making a lot of mixing content, which should hopefully be interesting. Either way, next up we're going to listen to Inception, also known as Lel in the Discord server, with a nice pumpkin as a profile picture. But this is his track Core. It was a pleasant listen, very nice indeed. Thank you, guys. This is an interesting start, like a very dark, rumbling kick and bass. bit of a strange intro, I would say. I also feel like for a start of the drop, this is already too many textures. Like there's two combating rhythms in here. I really like that one. That 6-note rhythm. It's definitely an interesting idea here, nice and dark. I want to see what the kick and bass is doing on its own. It's like a lot more droney, this one. A little bit of variation in that FM sound would be nice. Yeah, we can see the kick and bass here, and it does seem like it's nice and clean, like it returns to 0 before the next note plays. So that's exactly what you want. Still working on arrangement stuff. This is some really cool stuff though. I do really like where this is going. Like nice slow transitions between all of the ideas. Now that it's like slow and droney and there was like just one rhythm, that does work, but at the start you had like two opposing rhythms that don't really work together. You can use those rhythms in different parts of the tracks, of course. Like have the rhythms also slowly come in and out again and fade in and out. I feel like here you can hear that the track needs a little bit more in terms of the flow, right? That FM sound is really too stable. It could change a little bit more over time. But also another thing that I'm hearing is when that FM sound is playing, the kick and bass kind of drowns in the mix. So you can definitely turn down that FM synth, but in general maybe the kick and bass can use like 1 or 2 more dB as well. Like over here I can hear some like background warped vocal-ish thing, I think. You can have that slowly come in once in a while and then out again. And then meanwhile push the FM synth out and then in again over say like 8 bars. And just slowly morph between the things as opposed to it coming in and then out again. Some very cool sound design happening here. That raspy pad thing that you're using, it could be nice for that to open up into stereo, because right now it's high end, it's completely mono. Yeah, this resonant thing that you're doing here, you can have that become wider over the course of this break. It's the national weather warning. It's the warning for the next part of this track. I do feel like this breakdown goes on for a little bit too long. Felt like these sounds weren't always in sync, but they do seem to be if you look at it like right here. Feels like they're sometimes slightly behind, like they have a slight attack to it. There's like 1 point there, but that doesn't really say much. Can also be the analyzer that is. Here, yeah, here you can see that this note starts like halfway in between the click of the bass and the click of the kick, so it's definitely out of sync here. This one is slightly late as well. This one is on like a middle point. That's definitely something to look out for. This is definitely one of those moments again where I feel like the kick and bass doesn't come through the track enough. There's also a moment where your gate opens at a little bit of a strange point there. Like one of the notes is out of sync, which sounds a little bit odd. Again, a synth like this, you can play with the stereo fields to where it becomes more sustained. You have it more towards the side so that it becomes a little bit more of a background element, and now these other drones and zappies and the FM sound can cut through it a little bit more. Very cool. Do make sure that the fade out like actually fades out. That is very annoying, especially when it's like in a playlist and the next one starts immediately. It's nice to have a little bit of a pause in there. If I go to like one of these here, you can see that it like actually fades out, right? You have some weird stuff happening with the reverb suddenly coming in. That still needs to be fixed. But that is actually... Even here it doesn't fade out exactly the way you want it. You would like it to have it like... Actually go to silence. And then the next thing starts to play. So that is something to keep in mind if you're releasing this. But other than that, this is sounding very, very interesting. I really like the sound design. I really like the way that you're kind of taking sidelines and really slowing down the fundamentals of it. Right? The way that we arrange, the way that we morph between things is done on a very slow level here. But that does really work nicely. Next up we have Tom Szul here with Liberty Cap Mushroom. Add-ops hi-hats. I had to put my track to SoundCloud because it's 14 megabytes. Mushroom season is ongoing, so I make a track for it. PS below is not the cover art, and thanks for your feedback. It does look like an interesting cover art. But either way, okay, so here I guess is the cover art then. I don't know which one it is. Either way, this is Liberty Cap Mushroom by Tom Szul.
You could do that just once and be hospitalized. Liberty Cap Mushrooms.
Very over compressed this vocal.
Most of what they want. It's the one who collects none of what they don't want.
The reverb sounds almost unnaturally big. Kick and bass nice and clean. I like that. I like that recurring melody. I like the sound of what you're going for. I think you can turn down the sub on the kick by like a dB-ish, I would say. And then take your sequences and like leads group as well and turn that down by like 3 dB, I think. Because right now one of the things that I'm hearing is that the drums don't come out enough. And rather than fixing it by turning up the drums, I think turning everything else down is a better idea. Because that way the kick transient also has a little bit, for example, more area to come through. The idea is definitely there. I do think it needs some rebalancing. For example, here I would have the melody be a bit more present. Because right now the melody just kind of sits behind everything else. And I feel like that is designed to be more of like a main element idea. There's some synths that get really loud. Here it shows that your kicks aren't resampled though. At least when they're overlapping there. think on some of your main scenes, I get it on the atmospheres, but on some of the main scenes and the one-shots that you have, the reverb is a little bit too dramatic. Like on some of that stuff, it can be a little bit cleaner, I would say. One thing that you can try on all of those main sequences and one-shots is to, as well as on this vocal, for example, this vocal I think needs more, but for all of the other reverbs to half the dry wet and length, like the time. This vocal you can probably divide by 3 the length of the reverb. And here the vocal just doesn't come through the mix. I like these kind of hardstyle inspired resonating lead sounds. Especially now that you have such a nice morphing idea in there. But again, I would argue a little bit too much reverb. Here the same with those resonant sine spike thingies. There's never enough reverb. Yes, there is. You can definitely do too much reverb, and I think this track is doing that. Unless you're making ambience music. If you're making ambience, then you're right. Overall, sounds very, very good. I really like it. Yeah, the main thing is the reverb. And then a little bit of rebalancing on the mix as well, I think, in general. Just kind of having your priorities a little bit better. For those that don't know, and for those that are interested, I do offer mixing services. That cannot fix the first problem that you had, but I can definitely do the whole rebalancing and remastering. Something like this. Information of that you can find on my slightly outdated website. Outdated, not so... Yeah, it is outdated because there's a few products missing that I need to put in here. But at least the part for the mixing services you can find over here. And this PDF is still very much up to date. And you'll find all of the information with regards to that. Next up we have Through New Dimensions by Reverk here. Looks like he has some nice visuals cooked up for us. I unfortunately cannot display that and the analyzer at the same time, I think. YouTube is turning down the volume here because it's so loud. I can definitely see why YouTube is turning it down, because it's on the over compressed side, I would say. Ooh yeah, here you have some bleeding into some transients as well. So this bass line that you're using here, the one that is responsible for the actual sub, you would probably want to resample that one. I can definitely feel that there's a few elements in here that also have a little bit too much reverb. I would say the main synth here that does the melody can definitely be a little bit more upfront in the mix. Right now it sounds very behind the mix. Of course, those atmospheres and whatnot, they need them. But that melody can come through it and sound like it's in front of it as opposed to behind it. A little bit of a slower transition maybe into the violin part. Right now it sounds a little bit abrupt. You can make the violins also a little bit more mono, in my opinion. You can get a bit more of a stable sound out of them. I think it's the panning that it's doing it. You're panning them left and right alternatingly, I think. That's a very loud bass line here. Bass line can be a little bit quieter so that the synth can come out a bit more. You ever said those pads you wanted them big? No, I did. And now you said you wanted them mono. A little bit more mono. Yeah, you just slightly overdone the thing that I probably asked. I don't remember if I asked you to do that. I do remember having heard this track before, and I can definitely see that you've made some improvements. It does this. I don't remember if this was the track that had the stereo bass in it, that we talked about, the stereo bass thing. But right now it does feel very stable, the bass line. So that if that's one of the fixes, then that's very well done, at least. Bass line is mono now, perfect. By the way, when I said that I wanted the pads to be a bit more mono, I didn't mean like fully mono, right? Just the width from 100% to 90% is gonna be okay. You're still going to get the same big effect. It's just not going to be so drastic that it's going to start out to actually cancel itself. Which, to be honest, even if you go over it a little bit, isn't that big of a deal. But it tends to be the nicest if you're right below 90-degree phase rotation, which is here. So if you have like a big pad that you want to have sound big, you don't want to overdo it and push it in this area. You kind of, where it's right now, where it's right at that moment, that's a nice big wide, yeah, the big is the main description of it, because it sounds like it comes from both the sides as well as in the center of your head. If you go too wide, it only sounds like it's coming from there, and it loses kind of its foundation. I feel like to a certain extent that is happening as well to the main melodic synth that you use, that saw wave synth, the one that I talked about before in regards to the reverb being too big on it. This one that is now playing with the vocal shots, which do sound really cool. I like the way that you can see the gliding in there. Overall, very cool track. I like it. Some very nice visuals as well. I was every once in a while I look over to check the visuals as well. For those that want to see those, this is the YouTube link and you can see them as well. As I said, I cannot have all of it on the screen at the same time. But the next person that we're going to take a listen to is Full Processor here with Rob Bob Premix. That's an interesting title. I would like to get some feedback on my track I kind of listen to it too much when producing and have problems listening to it critically now, as I'm not experienced in mixing your feedback. Your feedback is very much appreciated. Okay. Thank you very much. I took care of your details feedback. You're welcome. I'm glad that was helpful. Or at least my feedback was. Definitely fits with the title, the wonky vibe of it. I like that. Kick and bass is clean enough, I would say. Tonally, I also like it. There's a nice, strong hum to it. I like what you're doing sound design wise. I think all of the sounds that have stereo wave to them are a little bit on the loud side. You can every time you have a stereo sound play, you can actually see it in the waveform, kind of just bopping up the waveform like that. But also there's this whole other category of sounds which are completely mono. While I like having levels in my stereo field, having a level that is this mono sounds a little bit like it's interfering with the kick and bass. So what I would do is have those stereo sounds a little bit more stereo, and then get the sounds that are now mono kind of halfway in between where now the stereo sounds are and mono, if that makes sense. Ooh, that's really rough. There's one frequency that just pierces through it. Here again, for a riser like that, what can be interesting is to have the stereo width open up over time. So I think the thing that you should listen for the most is that stereo field. Even here in this space, there's just a few more interesting things that you can do with it. Like some slide panning on that new synth that just got introduced, for example.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
RIP headphone users, yes. That did very much hurt my ears. There's a few more. There's just every once in a while there's a sound that just really comes out. Of course, the main thing there is compression. I like the almost YouTube poop-esque cutting that you are doing on the vocals. It's like the track is scared, but it does go well with the wonky vibe that you're going for. so funny to me, I must laugh when I listen to this song. It is, it's almost like a parody of Psytrance with some of the sounds that are in there, but I do think it works really well, having such a wonky theme throughout your track. It's a good vibe, as Tom Szul also said. I'm not sure I'm a fan of the key change here. Maybe the transition needs to be a little bit longer into that. Cool stuff. I like that a lot. Very nice. Definitely, yeah, the stereo field is definitely the biggest issue, I would say, with this track. But other than that, I like the wonkiness of it, the theme of it, the way that you've written it, I guess. And then the other thing was the compression that you should look out for. Making sure that all of your sounds in your main sequences, they tend to need to get compressed quite a bit if you're doing this kind of glitchy sound design. OTT really works well for that kind of stuff if you put it in parallel. Other than that, having like a clipper every once in a while is also a nice way to just really crush it without getting too many artifacts. If you just like hard clip it and just try to get rid of the peaks, obviously don't have it engaged all the time, because then you do start to hear that kind of distortion. But yeah, definitely the dynamics and the because that one sound that was really too loud, but there's multiple times where there's a sound where that just kind of overpowers the kick and bass. Next up, we have another track from Reverb, also known as Spelwise. Since there is nobody posting, indeed we have some more stuff to listen to. Very nice. Direction we go is unknown. Starting off very gritty and distorted here. I like the bass coming in now, adding some stability to this. I don't see why the bass is panned slightly, like the sub bass. This isn't the groove that I expected. I expected some more dark side groove, I would say. This feels like normal Psytrance, but with the bass line too low passed. I guess it's more of an actual trance, like normal trance, right? And don't call me out Spelwise all the time. I'm sorry. I'll try to remember that. Usually I just read everything, all of the different artist names, so that I never skip over any. Because sometimes people get annoyed if I don't say out the right name. Are the hats stereonized here? I think they are, right? Yeah. No, I don't like that at all. The hat should be in the center. The bass as well. Which is also stereonized. It's like the low frequency and the high frequency are super wide, and then the mid frequency is very narrow. It should technically be the other way around. Yeah, the bass is wider than like the fundamental frequency of some of these synths here, and some of these atmospheres that play. In those areas, I personally would just stop the hats. I don't know, I tried to do side, but I'm not good nor experienced. It feels a little bit, throughout the duration of the whole track, like the intro doesn't match the vibe that you're going for in the drops. Like everything is very uplifting and very happy here, but the start started off as a dark side track. So there isn't really like a cohesion between, I guess, the intro up and the drop up until this point. Hats I often do stereos. I would recommend very heavily against that. The hats in the top frequencies is part of the groove, which is central to the track. It already says it in the description of the sound, right? Together with the bass line and the sub of the kick, that is also central to the track, because that is the thing that we dance to. So you can just use that as an easy memory. Stuff that is central to the track, that has impact on the groove, that has impact on the main idea of the track, tends to be a little bit more mono. Like for example, your main synth, like the one that's playing the melody here, probably needs to be a little bit more mono than, say, the background pad or some backing vocal, like the backing choir that is playing here can be wider, and then the main sound in the middle. And if you apply that to the kick and bass and the hats, they are the most central part, because they are literally the thing that we dance to in this dance track. So from that regard, it doesn't really make sense having them stereo. I would say the same thing for the sub bass over here, the lowest two harmonics here. This is way too much reverb. What can make sense though is that you have like a stereo layer for your hats. That you give some extra interest for the hats in the stereo field, like a lower backing layer, lower in volume, and then your main hats still are more mono. Yeah, like InfraSchall says, you're losing a lot of snap by having them stereo. Overall, I would describe the mix of this track as very open, and therefore it's not very focused, right? Does that make sense? And because it has lost all of its focus, it doesn't really impact you and motivate you to dance enough. Yeah, a stereo shake or something like that You can put that more in the background. Right now I feel like that the shaking thing, the element that is actually stereo, that big one over there is way too loud in comparison to the main heads that are more mono. I'm also not sure I'm a fan of double tracking your heads, in the sense that you have a different head loop in the left and the right speaker. What I would do instead is I would like stereo widen them, right? So they go to both sides of the stereo field as opposed to just one over the other. This is danceambient, yes. That's how you could describe it. Well, a sound where you can consider slightly toning down the reverb. This is a very long reverb tail for it to fade out. It's still going. You can still hear it slightly, and now I cannot hear it anymore. So that's like 20 seconds of just reverb tail. That is a little bit excessive. Either way, I hope that that's good insight. I think the idea is very good. I think the sounds that you go for, the vibe that you're going for is definitely there. It just needs a lot more work in the mix. Like the stereo field, but also some other mixing priorities, setting levels a little bit better. There's definitely room for improvement on that side. But overall, the idea does sound very nice. Next up, we have Inception again. We have two more people that are sharing tracks while they've already shared, which isn't a problem whatsoever. That doesn't matter, but they only want to do it if I want more content. Truth be told, I've been streaming now for just under 2 hours. Right? Yeah, this is the right count. The other count is off because I started that earlier. But I've been streaming now for just under 2 hours. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close the queue for today, meaning that, as I said, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter stream, and that is because I'm going to be recording 2 more videos after this. So I need to save some energy. But for now, that means that we're going to listen to Orientation Mix number 4. All right. Sounds very similar to the idea from before, in terms of the way that the intro works. Damn it, I was just uploading a render. Oh well, there's next week. I can squeeze one more in, if you want to. I'll quickly delete the message and then you post and then I put the message in again, okay? If you're really, really quick. This is another one of these very slow morphing tracks, morphing ideas. Ah yeah, now you see other people are also starting to say that they have tracks that they wish to post. Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen, because now there's another track, somebody that posted a track. So then there will be one more person posting, that is 110 Dio, and then InfraSchall, that's 3 more tracks. Unfortunately, I cannot do that. I do like how this one is morphing a little bit more up until this point than the other one. It feels like it's slower in its sound design. And for this ambience kind of vibe, that does really work well. Yeah, as I said, the moment I gave one person the okay to upload past the queue, there were 2 more people that wanted to upload. So I don't think that I'm able to do that, because otherwise I would disappoint a few people. Because as I said, I want to go for a little bit more. So I'll get to you guys next week then. Also 110 Dio and InfraSchall, but also Loris Dorman. I did promise InfraSchall that I was gonna play his track if there was like one more, but it immediately enabled 2 more people to start uploading and start posting their tracks. So in order to prevent that kind of stuff, I'm just going to leave this in place. I'm sorry. But that seems fair then, because then if I do play InfraSchall's track now because I promised him, it would be annoying to the other 2 people. You know what I mean? I feel like every single impact here is slightly off the kick. It can be nice having a few of them on the kick, like consecutively, so that you build up like a little bit of an actual rhythm with them from time to time. Hey, Omen here. Got the stream a little bit late. Thanks a lot for the feedback. You're welcome. I hope it's helpful. This slight key change here is very nice. No, it's fine, I'm not special or all. Same dying organic matter. That's the way I like to hear it. Hello, Mystery Box. How are you doing? I think with these like impact sounds that you have, you can also have a few of them reversed, because right now it feels like it's been going for quite a while and there's not really much that it's doing. Like it's not really changing tonally, and I think there could be a little bit more interest in there, and one of the ways that you can make it a little bit more interesting is just having every once in a while one that reverses. But this should probably also be the point where you start morphing into other elements again. Nice to see someone giving feedback on somebody else's music. Yeah, that's what I do here. That's what I do in or every Sunday. It is super mono indeed, Mystery Box. I think that's kind of because of the kick and bass here. That's not like a problem. But the kick and bass is making everything so mono. It's not like the ambience itself is super mono, right? little bit of the sequence is nice here. Having that come in. For a little bit of movement every once in a while. I send it via SoundCloud, but do you prefer a download link? I don't know where you send it, because you definitely did not send it in the Discord, where it needs to be sent. And second of all, we've already closed the queue, so anything you post now we'll listen to that next Sunday. On the feedback stream. If you just posted your link in the YouTube chat, that doesn't work. Those don't go anywhere, they don't get shown because YouTube blocks those messages. I do think personally the mix can benefit from a little bit more energy above, I would say, like 2K here. Like it slopes down a little bit too much for me. I have to say this is the most creative song I heard in a long time. I don't know if you're saying that as a good thing or a bad thing. I personally find it a very, very cool track, a very cool idea. Making sidetrend so slow that it almost becomes ambience. Ooh, here, with the lower sub, I would definitely try to filter that out. I know there's gonna be like phase issues, whether you use linear phase or whatever, but having such a strong sub at like 20 Hertz, I think is a bigger problem. So I definitely try to filter that part out. You just need to make us all moderators, then we could post links. That's true. But one, I don't want everybody here to be a moderator. And two, I don't like that people would just be able to post their link in the YouTube chat and leave immediately again. That's not what I want this stream to be about. There's like a slight synth playing high chords oozing through this part, which I really like. Suddenly the bassline gets an extra harmonic, it felt like for a second there. Maybe one of the atmospheres has like a low mid spike somewhere in the frequency spectrum there. For some reason it felt like there was like a extra zoom to the bassline all of a sudden. Cool stuff. Oh, there's more. Honestly, I think you should connect the outro to the kick and bass. Have it fade out from the kick and bass as opposed to have that idea come in like 2 seconds later. That really caught me off guard. Now the last part is a transition from a song to another with a key change. Okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, it caught me off guard a little bit right there. Anyway, that means that we have arrived at the last track of the day, which is going to be Trip to Nowhere, with no written differently. Again by Sounder. So let's have a listen here. And then we'll be done for today. A bit more of a normal trance vibe, I guess. I like the drum loop. It is a little bit too dynamic, so I would try to compress it a little bit, especially when you have this kind of stuff coming out and this one here, which is a little bit on the loud side. Sound like that can have quite a bit of stereo actually. It's more of a backing sound, right? It's a little bit more of a one shot. Thank you for your enjoyable Sunday. See you next week. See you, man. Thank you for stopping by. The first person I chatted with on the Soul Seek file share platform was a Dutch chick named Nowhere. I don't know what to do with that information, InfraSchall. Knowing that you are the kind of person that chats on file sharing platforms is a little bit disturbing to me. I feel like the fluctuation in this track there isn't really like much happening that raises or lowers the energy level. The drums are always the same. The synths never really like open up in a climax or something like that. That is really, in my opinion, what the track is missing here now. Ooh, I did see the transit of that second kick there. Looks like your kick is bleeding into the second half of the beat, I guess. Your brother seems I'm late. Unfortunately, you are, yes. This track's title is Nowhere. Yes, I know. I'm just disturbed about your preference to chat on file sharing platforms as opposed to any other service. How much stream is left? About 2.5 minutes. Then the track is finished and then I'm done for today. Same is true for Ivy, I'm sorry. Nice to see that you're here, Ivy Squeeza. But you're a little bit on the late side for today. We now had a few melodic sounds and now the track again goes all the way down in energy. It doesn't really progress. Another thing that I'm hearing is that this track doesn't really leave a lot of space in the fills. I know there are fills, but they're usually like kick fills. It would be nice to have a fill every once in a while where the kick just doesn't play 4-bar together with the bass. That you remove that low frequency and you get another impact when the kick and bass does start to play again. It was just a play on words. What other servers would you have used in 2001, 2002? I don't know, I was 4, 5 years old. Don't ask me these kind of boomer questions. Slow build up, yes, and could use some more variations indeed. Yes, I agree with that. That's a very good summation of what I would change about this track. And some of the stereo things and small details as well that I mentioned throughout it as well. Like that one scratch was a good reminder of the stereo field that sometimes needs a little bit of love in some elements. Overall, cool track. I like that a lot. Love your intro video, by the way. Thank you. Now people are talking about things that are from before my time. I see it's like full of viruses and garbage and all of that I've never had to go through. I'm of the generation that just had the internet and then everything worked the way we wanted to. There wasn't like dial-up and all of that excessive setting up that you had to do. That was all a little bit before my time. And I'm kind of happy that I'm in that area. Was just peer-to-peer file sharing. Yeah, okay. Just like a torrent service then, right? Either way, I'm going to call it here for today. I'm going to spend some more time recording some videos. I have one on full-on sidetrans arrangement that I want to make like a 20-25 minute video on. And then another one on the pro tricks that people like to use. I want to do a little bit of a rant on the idea that there's some pro trick that is going to magically make you a better musician if you just implement it on your master or whatever. People still think that there is such a trick, and there is such a trick, which is the trick that I'm going to explain, but it's not the kind of trick that you would like enjoy because it takes a long time to implement. No, torrents, not like torrents is swarm downloading. Okay. Yeah, that's you can access the file on multiple servers, I guess. It is still peer-to-peer, but it's not like there's multiple peers that you can connect to at the same time. Use this simple mastering trick to be a pro. Exactly, that kind of videos and stuff like that. Anyway, so yeah, that's gonna be the stream for today. As I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the feedback and I hope that it was helpful. And next week, we'll see each other again for the same thing. Bye bye guys. See you.